So I'm gonna mention just at the beginning of this video because you're gonna notice anyway, well, I cubily damned this thing, and if you don't know what that means, well, if you know, you know. If you don't, well, it means I put on the ass backwards.
Round 2. Fight!
Welcome back to round 2 of Mecha Gaikotsu versus the Backlog, and today I'm taking a look at the p-bandai exclusive Master Grade Gundam Mark V. So there is a lot to be said about this particular Master Grade right here, but before I do that, this video right here would not have been possible without those absolutely brilliant people over at BUYEE. So if you're looking for some hard to find kits, p-bandai, rare or just downright elusive gunpla, you will definitely find it through BUYEE. I guarantee. Link down there in the description as well as the search terms to find yourself a Mark V. So anyway, jumping right on into the aesthetics with the Master Grade Gundam Mark V, and I will mention right off the bat, well, you may be like, well, this doesn't look that exciting, and yeah, from photos and even looking at it right here, it's not the most mind-bending or mind-blowing looking Master Grade around. That doesn't mean that it isn't though. So first up, a little bit of background about the Gundam Mark V right here. This, as far as I know, is the second ever from the ground up exclusive Master Grade done by the p-bandai guys themselves, and the first was the Gundam F90... Yeah, the Gundam F90, that is an outstanding kit. That is premium Bandai only, completely 100% from the ground up made for p-bandai, and I find it even better than regular old Bandai's Gundam F91, which is saying a lot. The same level of ridiculous care, quality, and just, I don't know, magic is put into this Mark V as well. The mold on this is fantastic. The parts fit together like butter. It is amazing. There are no color correcting stickers in here besides the ones that are used for sticking over any of the lenses. We've clear parts underneath those lenses in case you want to use LEDs or paint them in a nice clear color, like what you can see on the back of the head here. I used a Sharpie. As well as stickers, we get a whole bunch of water slide decals in here. I did not use any because I'm trying to bust through this backlog pretty quickly, but this is what they look like. The part separation on this is phenomenal. The way they've color separated all the white on this is amazing as well. If you're someone who loves a lot of surface detail, there is not a whole lot here to be seen. We do have some parts poking through from the under layers, like up on the shoulders, but when it comes to surface detail, there isn't really all that much really. That could be a pro or a con, depending on your own perspective. So yeah, p-bandai have knocked this out of the park entirely, and p-bandai is a kind of weird concept. They release an awful lot of odd, half-baked, and almost extortive, if that's even a word, kits. And then they come out with something like this, so it's kind of like they're working a side job in order to make some ridiculously unique stuff, like someone who's working as a waiter one day, the next day you see them as a doctor, because they were going through college. So yeah, if this is the result of buying lots and lots of dodgy p-bandai, I say buy it up so we get more of this. So you might be wondering, what is the deal with Gundam Mark V? So of course, the first Gundam is the RX-78-2 right here. The second one was the Gundam Mark II, this one right here from Gundam Zeta. Next up is Gundam Mark III. I do have a high grade of this coming up very, very soon. If you want to see that, let me know in the comments. Then Bandai always seems to skip past Gundam Mark IV for whatever reason. It's like there's some kind of shameful reason Bandai don't talk about Gundam Mark IV. And then we've got Gundam Mark V right here, which is huge in that ridiculous Gundam Sentinel kind of way. And just to kind of mention how awesome the Gundam Mark V is, it absolutely destroyed the XS Gundam right here. It says it in the manual. I'll put a picture up so you can read it yourself. Also, while I'm mentioning that, the pilot of this, believe it or not, is a fish. A brave cod, believe it or not. So it's like a cod, but braver. No, a little braver than that. No, braver. Yeah, that brave. And apparently the Gundam Mark V goes so quick it broke its teeth. This is brave cod, by the way. This guy broke his teeth. This Gundam goes too fast. Yeah, the mold on this kit is incredible. The gates are tiny, 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 so I didn't do any cleanup on this at all, and you barely notice them anywhere. There's some here and there, because, well, bluish plastic tends to mark a little bit, but on the whole, pretty awesome. And I will mention that p-bandai would not make a kit from the ground up unless they could milk this thing dry. And just in case you don't know, the kind of suits that are based on, and the runners do say, Gundam Mark V frame, so that is going to be the reused runner right here. The kits that are based on this is the absolutely mind-blowing Dovin Wolf, the killer Silver Bullet, and I don't know if they'd go this far, but I hope they do, the Silver Bullet Suppressor that we saw in Gundam NT. Honestly, this kit is absolutely beautiful. We've been looking at it too much. Let's check out what we've got when it comes to accessories. So jumping into the accessories, and here's the Master Grade Gundam Mark V with absolutely everything that it comes with. And what we get in here is the beam rifle, a shield, a set of shoulder-mounted missile pods. We've got a dedicated pair of fists on top of the standard hands that we have on it already, with some swappable fingers also included. We've got an action base, a pair of beam sabers large enough to eat your noodles with, a pair of incoms, as well as some little sections for using with said incoms. But anyway, let's check that all out right now and attach it on to the Gundam Mark V. So I will mention, as this is a dedicated kit, there is nothing really left over on the runners besides one thing I really do appreciate. And that is this right here, a spare pair of antennas. If you're anything like me, well, more than likely you've got a missing or broken antenna somewhere in your collection. My Hyakushiki 2.0 and Jim Sniper Custom Sniper whatever, both of those master grades, broken. Yep, antennas are broken. So first off, talking about the manipulators in here, we've got this set of hands with a movable thumb on a ball joint, as well as swappable style fingers. On top of that, we also have a pair of dedicated fists, which are, well, dedicated fists that just be fists. So swapping the fingers is fairly simple. You just pop out the fingers that you're not using and pop in the ones that you want. These ones right here with the tab in the fingers, these are for holding onto the giant beam sabers. And speaking of which, here they are. They attach in by popping them onto the tab, and these are huge. These are like perfect grade length. These are chopstick length. I mean, these are ridiculous. These are some insane sized beam sabers, and no wonder it did in the XS Gundam with them. When you're not using these, you just pop out the beams as usual, and then you can pop them up onto the backpack segments right here. What makes these even more awesome is you're able to actually swing them forward under the arms like so, side by side with the waist of the Mark V to be used as beam cannons. How badass is that? That is pretty cool. Next up in here, we've got the beam rifle, and there's something so old school looking about this, and I mean old school model kit, not just old school kind of Zeta Gundam Sentinel kind of vibe. I think it's all the one color of a dark navy blue. Just like the rest of the mobile suit, the detailing on this is not the craziest, it's definitely not the worst, but it's not over the top. The color separation is quite good, and we do have stickers for the side segments and the sights section up top. Those are all clear parts underneath though, so if you want to paint or LED this up, you can. Just like before, attaching this into the hand involves swapping some fingers, so that means attach the fingers onto the beam rifle first, and then attach all of those fingers and the beam rifle onto the hand. I'm also going to put this into the left hand just because in every promo picture of this, everyone's going to put it in the right hand as well. I just thought it'd be interesting to see, can you make this kit a left-handed kit? On top of that, I'm going to use one of the pre-post fists on the other side, so you can take a nice look at that too. Just like with the beam sabers, this attaches in perfect, absolutely no issues, holds onto it nicely. The hand looks nice grabbing onto it, and it's a pretty cool beam rifle. Once again, nice color separation, but it does have some stickers if you do not want to paint the clear parts. So next up in here, we've got the shield, and this is definitely a super unique shield. This has given me some Riesel vibes, as in the Riesel from Gundam Unicorn. Actually, the whole color scheme of this suit is quite similar. I've got one in the backlog, and I've been meaning to build that for quite some time. As for this right here, it is very detailed. There's a lot of building going on in here. There's a nice underside with a lot of grey detailing. We do have some clear sections in this, but I did cover them over with the stickers to get that nice shiny look, but there are colorless clear parts underneath those. This attaches onto the back of the arm in a sliding kind of way, so you pop it into the peg, slide it down, and then it's locked into position. Definitely unique looking and pretty awesome. We also have the option of popping this back off again and then sliding it onto the backpack like so as an extra thruster known as a stern booster. Once again, this locks into position really well, and now the Gundam Mark V is ready for cruising. So probably one of my favorite accessories with this kit are these, because they kind of feel like a bit of an expansion to the kit as opposed to, well, a standard accessory. So this is a pair of micro missile pods. These attach on in the coolest way. The shoulder slides out like this. You'd almost not even realize there's a sliding gimmick here. You can then pop them in. Here's the same thing happening on the other side, and this works so well. The expansion, attachment, seamless and perfect. These can then spread open like so, pop open the front segments like this, and these look astounding. Once again, these feel like such an extra as opposed to something that you feel like you should get in the kit. It's an option, and I love that. So next up in here then, we've got the pair of incoms. These are shit, so you can store them away in the backpack here until you can order a wire that isn't floppy and crap. So it's at this point I realized I fucked up. So basically, yeah, you know the phrase ass backwards? Well, the whole time through this review, this was ass backwards. Literally, the ass is pointing to the front, which shouldn't be. So after disassembling it all and putting it back together, that is what it should look like. Even when this butt flappy bit here was clashing with that bit, I still didn't realize it was on backwards. I did the whole review, still didn't realize it was on backwards. The only reason I realized it was on backwards is because I thought that is a dumb place for a base adapter segment right below the crotch there, and then that is when I copped it. Anyway, there's the base adapter attached, and these missile launchers can make the shoulders a little bit on the heavy side, so they may pop off occasionally, but not a lot. Anyway, as for that action base adapter, it does what it needs to do perfectly. Not gonna fall off. So now moving on to the articulation, and as always we're going to be working from the neck down. The neck on this is phenomenal. It's treble jointed, which means we have a hinge down bottom, forward and back for a mega giggity goo. Another hinge just above that below the actual chin, and we've got a ball joint up there as well. So you're going to get everything you want out of this. Some severe awesome angles, and you can look around. We've got a very nice forward and back up at the shoulder, very nice joint in there. Full 360-degree spin, the shoulder fell off, this can fall off quite often. And there is the arm reaching all the way up. Once again, inside of the shoulder is a really nice joint. The shoulder armor can move independently to the arm itself, which is always nice. And we've got this nice little flappy, and there is all of the movement. Once again, pretty cool. We've got a very nice bend at the elbow, which goes beyond 90 degrees. A little bit of a bend at the wrist right here, ever so slightly. And finally, then we have a ball joint for the wrist. One thing I was not expecting with this kit is an absolutely whopping treble jointed, or even more, ab crunch. This is insane. Just look how much this can move. This is thanks to a joint up top and this incredibly nice yet somewhat complex joint down in the waist. This can push in and out, move forward and back, and just like every other joint in this kit so far, as tight and as solid as a rock. Down to the skirting armor now, and once again, so intensely awesome. The front skirting armor can pull up like so, then drop down like this. We've got a really nice set of ball joints in here holding it all together, and once again super solid. The side skirting armor is actually attached to the leg. If I pop this off, you can see there's multiple joints going on in here, so you can move this down, raise it up like so to the top of the leg, move it out of the way of the leg entirely, back, forward, and if we go around to the back, there is the butt flap, which is that thruster we were looking at earlier on. We've got a lot going on in the backpack too, with two swiveling joints, one of which being a ball joint attaching the thruster backpack parts. The thrusters are ball joints, and like we've seen already, we've got the moving beam sabers, which are also cannons, up top. As for the kicks, the kick up to the front is basically, well, all the way. Out to the back, we get pretty much the same until it hits the backpack. Out to the sides, then we've got pretty much the full splits, the full spin at the upper leg, and then we've got one decent bend at the knee for something with a lot of bulk. And I'll mention at this point, I could do that all in one take because this kit is, well, it's so solid and all the joints are so smooth in a way I've never experienced from a big old Bandai kit. We've got a nice little bit of a white knee armor around front too. This can move underneath the actual armor, which is awesome. We've got some moving thrusters that can rotate on the sides of the legs. All four of those can rotate. We've got some in and out to those thrusters. And speaking of thrusters, this one round back is actually attached to that white knee up front. So if you move this or move the knee, it moves with it, which is cool. Testing that foot on the ground now, and moving to the front, we don't get a whole lot there from the ankle. We do have a bending toe, however, and out to the back, this is utterly ridiculous. Just look how much you can point that toe, which is fantastic for aerial poses, or, well, posing with something like a harrow or a ball or something, to make it look like it's kicking it like a soccer ball. Never mind. As for the side-to-side pivot, it's more so a pivot within the foot as opposed to the ankle, so this doesn't really work so well on the ground, looks cool in the air. And finally, these heel segments back here are attached via ball joints. So honestly, this thing is blowing my mind. It's got a ridiculous amount of articulation. It is as solid as a rock, and it has well, Ridiculous center of gravity. This thing is phenomenal. Anyway, that right there is it for the review, and this by definition is Gundarium tier through and through. So just in case you do not know what Gundarium tier is, basically it goes from brown to platinum, bad to fantastic, and then there is Gundarium tier, which means there is no other gunpla like this, or there's nothing quite like it right now. This is a build you cannot miss, and the reason for that with the Mark V right here is, this feels like nothing else. This is an absolutely colossal Universal Century mobile suit. This usually is one of the worst kind of mobile suits around when it comes to gunpla. Usually too much detail, too many floppy parts, too many finicky bits, and no fun at all to play around with. Sure, you'll pose it once and it looks awesome up on a shelf, but you know, the floppy droppy bits and all of that kind of make them a little bit irritating. Like, for example, if we look at the Fats Verka, absolutely fantastic kit, but not that much fun to play around with. Take the XS Gundam, same thing. Even if you go to Reborn 100 like the Hama, it can barely hold itself together, and any other big RE 100s, besides the Nightingale which I haven't looked at, are all floppy. This does everything they cannot. Premium Bandai is making some serious kits, and I mean the ones that are Premium Bandai exclusives like this and the Gundam F90. The plastic is fantastic, the engineering is insane, it feels phenomenal, and it's so smooth. Everything just moves nicely. There's no screwing around when you're trying to get a nice pose here, and nothing ever falls off besides that one shoulder, and I think that might be my fault. I did put its ass on backwards after all. All I can say is, if you can get your hands on this, do get your hands on this, because this, to me, is the best large Universal Century Gundam style mobile suit around. Actually, it's the best large Universal Century all-rounder kit as far as I'm concerned. It does everything. Anyway, well, besides those wires. But then again, you can replace wires easily. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. If you do want one of your own, there is a link down there in the description. You can get yours through BUYEE. I did. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more gunpla reviews, and I'll see you very, very soon for the next round of Mecha Gaikotsu versus the Backlog. As always, this video right here would not have been possible without you right now watching this video. Thank you so much for watching, and potentially leaving a like, as well as everyone who helps out over in the channel memberships and over on Patreon, including Craig Jerry, Bakito Official, Caleb Engelhardt, Gunpla Chef, Joseph Cooklock, Lauren Sihak, Mr. Winter, Sean T, Tito Lewis, Tyler Sanders, and Van Fawn. Once again, if I ever screw up any of you guys' names, jump on over to the Discord and let me know.